Welcome everyone to the 2022 Candidate Forum for the Hull Municipal Election. My name is Celia Nolan and I am a Hull member of Hull's League of Women Voters chapter, the League of Women Voters of Hingham, which includes members in Cohasset, Hingham, Hull, and Weymouth. Please stay muted for this meeting. It is being recorded. And in order to highlight our candidates, please turn off your video if you're not sure how to do that. In the lower left-hand corner, you will see a little video camera with the word stop video. If you click that, that will turn your video off. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization that encourages informed and active participation in government, works to increase understanding of major public policy issues, and influences public policy through education and advocacy. We do not support or oppose political parties or candidates. Our moderator is Elizabeth Foster Nolan, President of the League of Women Voters of Massachusetts. Thank you, Elizabeth, for leading our candidate forum today.
Thank you, Celia. Welcome, everyone, and thank you very much for inviting me to moderate this candidate forum. As required by League of Women Voter rules, I am not a resident of Hull. And for those wondering, I am not related to the coordinator of the forum, Celia Nolan. I will start this evening by explaining some of the procedures for the forum which each candidate received and agreed to ahead of time. We have two groups of candidates this evening, those who are in contested races and those who are in uncontested races. For each candidate who is in an uncontested race, you will be given 2 minutes to give a statement. There will not be any questions for these candidates. For the Board of Selection, Municipal Light Board, and Town Clerk races, which are contested, the following rules and procedures apply. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for an opening statement, 1 minute for a closing statement, and 1 minute to answer each question. There will be no rebuttal time as this is an informational forum and not a debate. Opening statements will be done in the order that the candidates appear on the ballot. The order of questions is based on a random draw done today by the Candidate Forum Committee, and we will rotate who was asked the question, each question first that was, and rotate so everybody gets a chance to be number one in answering the question. Questions were not provided to the candidates prior to the forum this evening. Closing statements, those are in reverse order of the opening statements. The timer for this evening has a separate box on Zoom, which will be highlighted as we go through the questions. The timer will start after I read the question. The timer will turn yellow when you have 15 seconds left and will turn red when your time is up.
Member.
Please wrap up when you see the timer at 0, which will be red. If you continue speaking after your time is up, I will say thank you and move on to the next speaker. However, I will let you finish your train of thought. Personal references about other candidates are always out of order. The forum is being taped and there will be a link to the video on the Hingham League website, which will be provided. And then the League's YouTube channel will also have this. We ask that there's no audio or videotaping of the forum as the recording of this event is the property of the Hingham League of Women Voters. For our audience, thank you for joining us this evening. Please mute your microphones and continue to have them muted. Please use the chat for any technical issues you may have that might come up in the process where you might lose connectivity or anything. We will not be taking questions from the audience this afternoon. The questions we will be asking tonight were developed by the Voter Engagement Committee, which had members from Hull, Hingham, and Cohasset, as well as from questions submitted by members who registered for the Zoom meeting. We had a lot of questions that came in for us, and we have consolidated some, but we do not have the ability to get to every question given the time constraints we have. We request that everyone in our audience this evening treat all candidates fairly. Please remain quiet throughout the forum, and no clapping or cheering, with the exception that after the closing statements, you may clap for all the candidates who have joined us this evening. And we are going to start now this evening with statements from the candidates in uncontested races. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for a statement. George Bolin, candidate for town moderator, is unable to join us this afternoon, so I will read his statement after the other candidates for the uncontested races speak. So with that, I would like to start with the school committee. And if we will start with David Twombly, who is up for election for the school committee.
Thank you very much. I assume I'm on now. I want to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this this debate or this discussion. So just to give you some of my background, for the last 21 years, I've been elected to positions in town. For 9 years, I was on the planning board. For the last 12 years, I've been on the school committee. I was raised in Hull, and I graduated from Hull High School in 1979. After high school, I attended Northeastern University. I graduated in 1984 with a Bachelor of Science. And in 1998, I received my master's in public administration. I have worked for over 20 years in public higher education, and I've also worked the last 18 years in public education. I currently serve as the director of school operations in the Easton Public Schools, where I oversee school maintenance, transportation, and school construction. And we're in the process of building a $74 million early elementary school. I have a certification as a school business manager and as a superintendent. Currently, the Hull Public Schools face some challenges, obviously decreasing enrollment, budget constraints, increased social emotional needs of our students, specifically related to the pandemic. I am uniquely equipped through my professional experience and time on the Hull School Committee to confront these challenges head on. In order to address some of these challenges, I will work to increase oversight of the school facilities, examine the findings from the Mars Group Best Educational Use of School Facilities report, and review the data of the ad hoc committee that's looking at the school consolidation. In fact, there's a meeting, I believe, on June 21st with the school committee to discuss their findings. My professional background, paired with my experience on the committee, has equipped me with knowledge I need to clearly consider all the factors regarding the school consolidation decision. I will continue to advocate for our students, teachers, and staff. We have incredible teachers and administrators who are committed to the students in our district. I will continue to maintain a strong relationship with other elected officials and the town manager. I will make decisions that are in the best interest of our school students. I am a proud member of the committee, and I ask you for your vote on Monday, May 16th. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. And now we will move on to Liliana Hedrick for school committee.
Thank you so much for inviting me to the League of Women's Voters for all candidates tonight. My name is Liliana Hedrick. I've lived in Hull for 11 years. I grew up in Waltham, Mass, a large city, and graduated high school in 1995. I worked in EMS for over 16 years. I was the director of operations there. I started as an EMT. Public service is my thing. I am big on our community. I've tried to bring our community together through the Bibbidi Bobbidi Bright during the winter season. I have 3 children. The twins are the youngest. They're 8, and they're going to be in 4th grade next year. And my stepdaughter is in high school. She's a rising junior. They're all doing wonderful in our school system. I think we have a fabulous school system. I'm eager to get involved with the school committee. The elementary school is grossly underrepresented. So I'm looking forward to getting in there and seeing what we can do for our students and our community. I've spoken to many parents who have some concerns. I take a very balanced approach in getting the message across. And I'm really looking forward to this opportunity. I've not been on any school committee before, So this is a first for me, and I'm just excited to represent our community and our children and our schools, and I look forward to it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll now move on to the position for the trustees of the public library. And Kevin Lechner, you have 2 minutes for your statement. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, sir. Timer. Oh, said hello. Said thank you again to the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum. I'm Kevin Lechner. I've served 9 years on the Hull Board of Library Trustees, and I'm looking forward to getting everyone's vote on May 16th for another term, because over the last 9 years, we've done a lot. Like we've got in the last year or so, we've gotten a new director who's brought a lot of energy to our library. And the best thing about it is the library is the only place in town that serves all the residents of our town, from the youngest to the oldest. So it's a place of gathering information and learning and discovery, and it's done a lot for my life. So I really look forward to that. As far as my background, like part of the reason I love libraries is having a background in software. So I've been in a computer science degree from Tulane. I did that 2001, and I moved up to Massachusetts after that to do or as a volunteer at Service to America for a couple of years, and then went into the software industry, and I've been doing that in various positions. But over the last few years, I've moved into supporting mobile software, which is what I do now. And obviously, over the next 3 years, I'm hoping that we can develop a new strategic plan for our library to get more grants and more funding for it. So that's where I'm going to be focusing my energy, and I want to hear everybody's ideas about what we can do to make our library the best. So thanks again for your time, and I look forward to your vote on May 16th.
Thank you. Our next uncontested candidate is Nathan Payton. Nathan, you have 2 minutes for your statement.
Hello, I'm Nathan Payton. First, I want to thank the League of Women Voters for the invitation to participate tonight. It's a pleasure to be here, and so thank you for that. I'm running for re-election to the Hull Planning Board. I am in my 10th year of service to the Hull Planning Board, and my 20th year of service in the public sector. I hold a master's in urban and regional policy from Northeastern University, and I'm the current chairman of the Hull Planning Board. For the last year, my focus has really been on building partnerships and strengthening processes beyond the board, and I've done a lot of that by empowering our board members to be stronger, more independent, and accountable advocates on their own. But I've also focused a lot on building connections and collaborations with our other town boards. And finally, I've also really focused in on having stronger and more inclusive community processes. My goal in every meeting has really been to make sure that every member that participates feels heard, feels welcome, and that they understand that we really are doing our best to address every concern that they have. I'm in an uncontested race, so I'm not going to waste a lot of your time tonight, but if you do have any questions about what the board has been up to or what we're planning to do in the future, please feel free to reach out and email me. Again, that's it. Thank you for your time. And I promised I'd be short tonight. So I am.
Thank you for joining us, Mr. Payton.
Thank you for having me.
And the last statement for this evening is the one that was sent in to us by George Boland, who is seeking re-election as town moderator, and I will read his statement. I'm running for re-election as Hull Town Moderator. My first term was not what I expected. Little did I know that the pandemic would require me to learn how to conduct a meeting outside, how to facilitate social distancing, and meet with the many health protocols we've all faced during the last 2 years. Fortunately, with the assistance of Town Clerk Lori West, the Hull School Department, and their diligent staffs, we were able to have 2 successful town meetings outside. Over the last 3 years, I've worked to increase attendance at town meeting via the Hull Times, social media, the electronic message board seen as you enter and leave town, and robocalls reminding residents of the upcoming meetings. In addition, we have modified the warrant by placing related items together to ease review of these articles. We have also streamlined the process by combining items within a single article to reduce the number of votes needed. I was pleased, along with our town clerk, to propose an article allowing electronic voting for this year's town meeting. I believe this will facilitate a more efficient town meeting and will ensure that we count every vote accurately. I have always believed civic involvement is important. I believe my service as assistant chair of the Hull Advisory Board, coupled with my experience as a Dedham School Committee member and selectman, have given me a broad understanding of municipal government and how town meetings work best. I have had decades of experience dealing with the town meeting as both a participant and as an elected or appointed official. Over the last 3 years, I hope I have demonstrated the moderator's role as a neutral position, ensuring that everyone has a voice and a fair vote. It is the moderator's job to ensure a civil debate that protects the rights of the minority while ensuring the will of the majority. The job of the moderator is one of process, not policy. The moderator should ensure the town meeting follows the rules set forth in our bylaws and our town's guide to running a town meeting. As a moderator, I've worked to encourage respect for all residents, town officials, and other presenters throughout the meeting. Everyone has the right to be heard with courtesy. If re-elected, I will continue this effort. On Monday, May 16th, I hope you'll consider voting for me as moderator. Thank you. I had to make sure I also was on time. We will now move on to our contested races. And I would just remind folks, and I think everyone is doing this, I cannot see everybody, but to please make sure you are still muted, and that you, if you are not in the race that we will be asking questions for, that you also stop your video. So right now, I welcome Lori West and Pamela Flatich, who are running for the position of town clerk for the town of Hull. And again, just a reminder, you each will have 2 minutes for an opening statement, 1 minute for each question, and 1 minute for your closing statement. And we will begin with Ms. West for your opening statement. And you are muted.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Good afternoon. My name is Laurie West, and I am the Hull Town Clerk, and I am seeking re-election. Thank you to the League for hosting this forum. I have lived in Hull for over 30 years and raised 3 children in town. I have been a longtime community volunteer and served on several town committees. I have been the elected town clerk for the past 6 years. Prior to being elected, I was appointed as the assistant town clerk. The past 2 terms have provided many challenges, never more so than these last 2 years. The Hull town clerk's office has progressed into the 21st century with vast improvements in technology that better serves our citizens. This is clearly evident at our town meetings and voting in elections. I have updated our voting machines and incorporated the use of electronic poll pads for the ease and efficiency of our check-in process. As the chief election officer, my priority is and will continue to be ensuring transparency, security, and the ability to vote for all Hull voters. While focusing on the future, I did not forget our past. Funding provided by the CPC has allowed me to restore some of our historical records, including digitizing of these documents. My degree in business management from Suffolk University, along with my experience working in a law office, has prepared me for this position and shortened the learning curve. I have successfully prepared for and presided over 17 elections, 2 presidential, 2 dual elections, assisted with 3 recounts, 1 state audit, and 10 town meetings. I am a certified Massachusetts municipal clerk, of which there are only 117 in the state. I am one of 26 Mass town clerks to hold the international title of Master Municipal Clerk. My professional development includes serving on the legislative committee for the Mass Town Clerks Association and a member of the New England and Tri-Town County Clerks Association. In addition to the 450 town clerk functions, I am also a notary public, justice of the peace, and a commissioner to administer oath. I respectfully ask for your support and vote on May 16th. Thank you.
Ms. Fladich.
Hi, I am seeking the town clerk position in Hull. I attended all 3 schools. I went to UMass Amherst and graduated with a legal studies and sociology degree and a certificate in criminal justice. For Hull, I've led co-sweep and biodiversity days. I also served on the Conservation Commission. I also, for work experience, I have legal secretary experience, as well as I worked at Boston University's Office of Environmental Health and Safety for over 10 years. For government work, I worked for the Transportation Security Administration, which is also known, better known as TSA. I worked as an officer as well as a facilitator. And I also worked for the US Census. Currently, I am a substitute teacher at the Jacobs and Memorial Schools. I enjoy working with the public, and I am running or seeking this position because I love Hull, I love its people, and if it's of Hull, I would love to have your vote. Thank you very much, and thank you to the League of Women Voters for this opportunity.
Thank you, Ms. Fladich. We will now move on to the questions for the position of town clerk. The first question will be to you, Ms. Fladich. The town clerk's mission statement is, the Hull Town Clerk's Office is committed to providing competent, courteous, and efficient service to all residents and non-residents alike. Also strives to work efficiently and cooperatively with all departments, boards, and committees, as well as keeping the integrity of the office. How do you define the integrity of the office, and how would you protect it?
For the integrity of the office, I would ensure that all of the laws that are required and that it is done in a timely manner. I believe that the customer service is also an important part of that, ensuring that each person is educated as to the importance of what they're asking and how they're asking, and they feel great about it when they come to the town clerk's office. Did I answer both questions?
Yeah, how do you define the integrity of the office, and how would you protect it?
And seeking to protect it, I would educate the public on what the needs are and what the requirements are.
Okay, thank you. Ms. West. You're on mute.
Sorry. In order to protect the integrity of the office, first and foremost is the protection of our ballots and voting in all of our election equipment. We want to make sure that, I would want to make sure, and I do make sure that it is protected. In the integrity, we have confidentiality matters that take place in the town clerk's office and records that are confidential. And it is very important to protect that integrity with the residents and our voters of Hull.
Thank you. Next question, we'll start with Ms. West. In response to the COVID restrictions, elections have expanded opportunities for early voting and no excuse mail-in voting. What is your opinion of these practices?
My opinion is that anytime that we can encourage voter participation and increase voter participation, I'm in support of. For early voting, that will continue right now. That's in place for our state elections and early voting. We're still, that comes down from the legislation, which we are still waiting for final word on how that will be provided in the upcoming state elections in September as well as November. We of course have absentee voting, but in terms of early voting, I'm support of it, and we're prepared for it. We've already done it, and we will continue to do so.
Thank you. Ms. Fladich.
I agree. I think that making it easier for people to vote when they can vote nowadays with how busy we are, both things, the will help to rock the vote and get people to make their decisions and make them heard.
Thank you. Ms. Flattish, we'll start with you. What do you see as the town clerk's office biggest challenges over the next 3 years? What steps do you propose to address these challenges?
I would say, just as Lori had said earlier, that the voting is the biggest changes that are happening. Automation can affect everything, as computers, as we know, have affected everything. So I think that is, though that it'll be at the town meeting, the town elections may be the next step. So I would say that, that's going to be a constant challenge, and meeting the requirements of the government whenever that is issued, and then just taking those steps in order to ensure that we meet those requirements.
Thank you. Ms. West.
I believe that the biggest challenge over the next 3 years is going to be any changes in the election reform laws, and just keeping up with that. Just in my experience over the past 6 years, election laws has changed so dramatically from year to year, even sometimes from election to election. So that's really is the challenge of just keeping up with that. And that's just, that's why it's so important to go to our clerks conferences and having close contact with colleagues of mine. And the other big challenge I find is, and continues to be, is just voter participation. And just to try to reach out to some of our partnering community organizations, and just as well as continue registering students at the high school, and just encouraging people to get involved in our community and get out to vote. Thank you.
Ms. West, the next question is for you, our last question, so before your closing statements. The town moderator and the town clerk have proposed an Article 17 on the Hull Town warrant regarding electronic voting for Hull Town meetings. What is your opinion on Article 17 and implementing that?
I'm a co-sponsor of the article, so I'm clearly in support of it. I think it's going to be a great addition to our bylaws as an option to vote. I think it is going to increase our efficiency in voting. I think it's going to be, there are many benefits to this, and I really look forward to presenting this article at our town meeting on Monday. And I think that the town will, and I hope that they will support it and find the benefits that it does have to offer. It's a great benefit. It's going to cut down in time at our town meetings with our standing votes, with our vote by ballots. And it's just a great record keeping.
Thank you. Ms. Flatich.
Thank you. I want to commend Lori. Great job, I think, and who else helped with that article. I think it'll help. It's the wave of the future. And I agree with everything she said. The voter, it'll help with efficiency, as well as, I believe, confidentiality. So I think it's a great move, and kudos.
Thank you. We'll now move on for each of you for your closing statements. Again, a reminder, it's 1 minute, and these are in reverse order of your opening statements. So Ms. Flatich, you will go first.
Okay. I have a passion for Hull and its people. If you believe it would be in Hull's best interest, I would humbly ask for your vote. I would be honored, and I thank the League of Women Voters for this opportunity, and I thank you for watching.
Thank you. Ms. West.
In closing, I have a proven track record of performance, leadership, and commitment as the Hull Town Clerk. I have worked tirelessly for this community, and I have enjoyed every moment of it. And I look forward to continuing serving our community for the next 3 years. I believe that I am the most qualified candidate for this office and respectfully ask for your vote on Monday, May 16th, so that I may continue to serve as your town clerk. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you very much for joining us this evening. We appreciate you taking the time to be part of this forum. And we will now move on to the race for the Municipal Light Board.
Thank you.
Which is Thomas Burns, Daniel Ciccarello, and Judith Van Ham. So as soon as I see those folks with their video, if they can just turn their video on, that would be great. Want to make sure I see them. Okay. Judith, your video is not on. There it is. Okay, now I have all three of you. I just want to make sure I could see all of you with your video. And also, as a reminder, to make sure that you unmute yourself as we move forward. So we will start with opening statements for each of you. And again, this isn't the order that you appear on the ballot. So with that, we will start with Mr. Burns. 2 minutes.
Hi, good evening. My name's Tom Burns. I'm running for one of the 2 openings to the Hull Municipal Light Board. Before I start, I want to thank the Hingham League of Women Voters for hosting us and informing Hull citizens of what they'll be voting for. I've made Hull my home since 1984. In these past 40 years, I've made a very active contribution to the management of Hull's operational future. Well-known fact, I was sewer commissioner for 17 years in the 1980s and 90s. I was selectman in 2000 when Hull Wind 1 was coming online. I became a member of the Hull Light Board in 2005, and when Hull Wind 2 started coming online, and for the past 16 years, I've been actively working to reduce any undue management expenses before us, and also to keep our power as reliable as possible. One of the primary missions of the Light Board is to provide reliable power at an affordable cost. In the past decade, we've had numerous power outages, and during the COVID period of 2000 and 2001, the light plant decided that we needed to provide emergency power, which we did for two seasons. Everyone will get a $7 rebate. We also strive to be as green as possible with 62% non-carbon in our power portfolio, and we will continue to do that with our portfolio manager in the next coming months. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ciccarello.
Hello. Greetings. My name is Dan Ciccarello, and I'm running for re-election to the Hull Light Board. Thank you for this opportunity to address the Hull voters. As far as I'm concerned, for elected officials, there are 2 golden rules regarding making decisions. The first one is never ever forget that you are dealing with other people's money. So don't spend it on frivolous, needless things. The second is if there's going to be a hardship for someone, who can bear the hardship the easiest? Making decisions on the Municipal Light Board can be difficult since there are so many competing interests, and these golden rules have helped me a lot. I served the Hull Municipal Light Board for 8 years in the 1990s, and then since 2007 until now. During that time, there's never, ever been an accusation that the finances of the Light Board were misguided or mismanaged. I am proud that that clean record is always keeping the ratepayers and their finances as guiding light. Also, during that time, we have been innovative regarding green technology. Right now, Massachusetts state law stipulates that municipal boards have at least 50% green energy, and we are at 62%, as Mr. Burns has said. A commissioner's job isn't fancy. We must provide an infrastructure to deliver the most inexpensive and consistent electricity with the best service for ratepayers as possible. I have done that consistently and proudly, along with 4 members of the Hull Municipal Light Board since 2007. I am asking for your vote in May 16th, 2022. I appreciate your time and attention to the quality of service of our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Van Ham.
I'm Judith Van Ham, and I've lived in Hull for 50 years. My background is in, I have degrees in architecture and city planning, and in Hull, I've helped with things that I thought were important to the identity of the community, like starting the Life-Saving Museum and keeping the carousel, and to life in our community, such as protecting land along the Weed River estuary. I'm running for the Light Board because while I totally agree that the Light Board has done a good job with rates and with reliability, I think it needs to think beyond that. For Hull, getting to 100% clean renewable energy is imperative. We have a major climate crisis happening, which threatens Hull as a peninsula with sea level rise. And that is important to consider in decision making. We should be encouraging people to have ways of going all electric themselves and for getting power from their own solar panels. We should be looking at new ways of, we've got 40% of our electricity for Hull coming from not clean energy. And there's now new ways of doing that are definitely worth us looking into and putting in front of people and saying, would you like this to happen? And as I said, encouraging individual people to do what they can to become green or clean energy. That means backing grants at the state level, also providing them at the local level, and providing the information so that people know what can work for them. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now start with the questions, and just a reminder, you have 1 minute to answer the questions. We will start with Mr. Ciccarello. What do you see as the challenges for the Hull Municipal Light Plant, and what are your suggestions for facing those challenges?
Well, the biggest challenge that we have is electricity, getting cheaper electricity, cheaper rates. That is the purpose. We sell electricity to the community, and that's the biggest point that I would make. The second thing is that I think that we have to get greener technology. We've always been involved in innovative technology. Like, for example, back 15 years ago, we tried to have 3, when Tom Burns and I were on the board, we tried to have 3 turbines, wind turbines, and out about a mile out. Unfortunately, we weren't able to accomplish that because of the cost that it took to go through the permitting process. We've had lots of different studies come down here, for example, tidal wave out in the gut to try to produce energy. And I think that that's something that we should continue to try to strive for. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Van Ham.
Okay, in terms of wind turbines, the state's about to put in a number of them offshore. And now there's some new engineering for wind turbines. We could get 165-foot tall, story tall wind turbine that would provide most of Hull's technology. And if we do it at the same time that the state is involved in shipping and dealing with the technology, it will make it easier for us to do. But there are other things. our municipal buildings ought to have solar on them where possible, or over parking lots. There are just a bunch of opportunities out there that we should be right now checking into.
Thank you. Mr. Burns?
Can you repeat the question again?
Yes. How has, excuse me, sorry. What do you see as the challenges for the Hull Municipal Light Plant, and what are your suggestions for facing those challenges?
Okay, thank you. The continued challenge of providing reliable power has been pretty foremost that the light board has had. Our emergency power generators, which was extended to everyone during COVID, will no longer be there. We are actively pursuing with National Grid a legal case to replace some of our main power grid that comes from East Weymouth. Maintaining reliability in a cost-effective way. We're having discussions with an engineer on the deposition of Hull Wind 1, and where we will need to provide further green initiatives. We're also looking at the reliability of Hull Wind 2. But so we are continuing to maintain our innovative approach.
Thank you. Ms. Van Ham, Hull has invested in wind turbine. What other alternative energy sources, if any, do you think the town should pursue?
Well, frankly, we need to put more thought into wind turbines, okay? It needs to be a topic of discussion. And I mentioned that having solar, there's something I'm working on that isn't directly under the light plan, but that could play a part. I'm working on solar personal rapid transit, which could collect solar over our streets. And that's with private money. It doesn't involve any town money, and actually pays 5% back to the town, which could be helping people get their own sustainability.
Thank you. Mr. Burns.
Okay. The town has worked with our portfolio manager, Emwick, and we are currently offering rebates if someone converts from carbon fuels to a total heat pump system in their house, whether it be air conditioning or just heat pump for heat. And also we offer rebates. People convert from a fossil fuel, a gas basically powered hot water heater into a heat pump hot water heater. We've been upgrading our lines for greater resiliency around town. So any outages we do have been usually off the peninsula, so to speak. So we've just started just to become more resilient and to offer other non-carbon sources of power.
Thank you. Mr. Ciccarello.
Thank you. I would like to echo some of the things that Tom has said, but I also want to say that we created a fund, sinking fund, to put money in every month to have some money so we could remove and purchase a new wind turbine. The two turbines that we have are getting very old. As Tom had said, they were put in 2001. So what we've done is we've been putting money into this fund, and so that we wouldn't have to do it all at once. We have, I think we have close to $1 million now. So that's a point that we're trying to do. The other thing is I think that we should have solar panels in some of the parking lots that we have in town here, and that for rollaway solar panels, so we could encourage or increase our green sustainability. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Burns. The cost of energy is a concern for many residents. What steps would you take to help residents reduce their energy consumption?
We currently offer a energy audit, which will emphasize things like windows, leaky doors, pretty much the low-hanging fruit that people can achieve with very little money and a greater cost savings. It's nice to get into solar, but the cost of that sometimes is prohibitive, and not everyone can do solar, but everyone can do winterizing of their apartment or of their house. And we encourage people to look at our website and take advantage of the energy audits that we do have. We also have a billing program that will it's a balanced billing throughout the year, so that people not see spikes during the winter. So we've instituted several processes.
Thank you. Mr. Ciccarello.
Thank you. Again, we've been doing quite a lot of things that Tom has illustrated, pointed out. We have been doing a lot of that for the last few years. One of the main ways of doing that is to get cheaper, reliable energy sources. The other is to make sure that people who have problems being able to pay for their electricity, to give them resources and to help them pay those bills. In terms of lowering their energy costs, we're at a double-edged sword, because on one hand, that's what we do, is we sell electricity. And if we have to sell a certain amount, and if we don't, somebody has to pay for it. So that is the double-edged sword. So we want to get cheaper rates, but we also want to encourage energy use. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Van Ham.
Couple of things here. In terms of, this is partly my own experience, but in terms of a business opportunity, air source heat pumps are a huge opportunity for selling electricity. And everybody in town ought to know what they are, and we ought to be making them affordable and encourage them to get used. It's a way to heat with electricity that's very reliable. And I think in general, outreach to let people know that there are some subsidies for getting somebody to come in and check your energy efficiency. That's important. And I would get people in every part of this town, in every large building, involved in knowing what the options are.
Thank you. Mr. Ciccarello.
Yes.
As elected representatives, do you think board members have a responsibility to regularly consult with, advise, and inform ratepayers on light plant issues and decisions? And if you agree with that, how would you go about doing that?
Yes, I certainly agree that I think that everybody who pays, who's a ratepayer in Hull, Massachusetts, should attend our meetings. We've done a lot of Zoom meetings, and I think that was very good, because we've got a lot of people in there. We do have in our meetings, before we start, public input, and we encourage people to come in there and ask questions. I've got to tell you that from my experience, from what people have told me, the people who work at the light plant are very good at taking questions and answering them and forwarding them to us if need be. I think that we should encourage people attending the meetings and perhaps make them all Zoom, though it's good to be in present so we could talk to people directly. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Van Ham.
I think this is such an important issue, the outreach part, that what I envision is actually having people in each neighborhood, each large condo, each major rental building who are a link to the light plan. And so that we can get information out to them and get information back from them. Right now, I don't think that people think about this all the time. And it's so hugely important what's happening to our climate that it should be on people's minds.
Thank you. Mr. Burns.
Okay. We post our meetings every month. We have agendas on our postings, and as Dana brought up, we have done numerous meetings through Zoom where we've had greater participation. We've occasionally put flyers in our monthly billing with updates. We have public hearings when we reinstituted the emergency power generator. We've had extensive meetings on our peaking power purchases and the impact that it'll have on the town and on the planet. So we've encouraged as much as possible public input and participation.
Thank you. Ms. Van Ham. Hull has experienced power outages in sections of the town and town-wide. Do you think the present communication to residents is sufficient during these events? If not, what would be your communication plan?
First of all, I don't want to have outages, and I think Hull has been making a pretty good effort in that direction, and I think we ought to continue to do that. We have to be prepared, however, for times when communication is poor. And so it may be by radio, it may be through internet. There may have to be other ways than we currently are using.
Thank you. Mr. Burns.
Our current management system is using the fire chief and the reverse 900 or 800 calls, has been working with outages in the past. The town has had heightened sense of awareness due to the outages that have come in the past decade, so we're very careful about that. We've had numerous people install their own generator. We hope that with our dealings with National Grid, that we can upgrade our main feeder line that comes from the Weymouth substation. And we've also looked at potential opportunities to get power through other sources in addition to our current one. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ciccarello.
Thank you. Well, we've installed in the last several years, we've installed smart meters throughout the town that are able to tell us when there is an outage in the town itself, and that sends the people, the night crew or the day crew, the line crew anyway, to go and to take care of that problem. We have also, in the last few years, we've created another sinking fund. We've created two sinking funds. The second sinking fund is to put money in in case there's any type of hurricane or any type of natural disaster. So we have the cash to take care of those problems. I think that we've had a really great record in the last few years with outages, and I think that the people in the town the light plant have been very effective in dealing with them. Thank you.
Thank you. And this is your last question, so you can breathe before closing statements. And we will start with Mr. Burns. As you are all aware, Hull's electricity is supplied by dedicated lines through other towns. And when there's an outage with that line, there's a major problem for Hull. Are there alternatives you would propose to mitigate the dependence on these sources?
So we are exploring potential sources from the Weymouth Power generating station. However, the exorbitant cost to run an underlying cable would make that prohibitive. It would be the 50, 60, $70 million range. Unfortunately, we are a peninsula and we are pretty much at the end of the line. So the only way to satisfy our power resiliency is to harden the main feeder cables that come from the Weymouth substation. So I would suggest that we would come to a favorable conclusion for the town of Hull with our negotiations with National Grid and upgrade the power, the main feed lines that have existed for 60, 70 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ciccarello.
Thank you. Yes, along with what Mr. Burns was saying, we've been spending a lot of time also in the last few years trying to come up with alternative routes for our power. One of them that he had mentioned is he hadn't mentioned is that we're trying to figure out something with Hingham Municipal Power to see if we can get power through them and in some type of a joint venture. The real problem that we have with that line is these poles that were put in the 1930s in the WPA, if you know anything about that. So we're talking about 1935. And so if we can get through our litigation, these power poles changed, we will have a lot of replaced. We would have a lot of stability in getting our power source. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Van Ham.
I have a different picture of this. I picture Hull as a series of microgrids where we are generating our own electricity. 2 big wind turbines would do that. Lots of people having solar, or lots of buildings having solar, and lots of people having their own batteries that become part of the system. And if we do go with solar personal rapid transit, some of the main lines will go underground, so at the expense of the investors, and so that it will be protecting our whole distribution system.
Thank you. We will now move on to your closing statements. As a reminder, these are 1 minute, and this is in reverse order of your opening statements. So we will start with you, Ms. Van Ham.
First, I'd like to thank Dan and Tom, who are both friends of mine, for the work that they've been doing, and I appreciate it. What I'd like to do is just take it more. You know, when we were putting solar on, when I was putting it on my house, there was a vote saying, we can only do 30 this year, and you can't get your credits back after the end of December. We want to encourage people to do solar. And I'd like to have everyone be thinking about how they themselves can get to 100% clean energy and how our light plant can help them do that.
Thank you. Mr. Ciccarello.
Thank you. I also want to thank the whole, the League of Women Voters for it. No one doubts that there's a climate crisis. As elected leaders, our duty is to maintain, prepare, and innovate electric power sources to our community. This ship, the Hull Municipal Light Board, is fully committed to eventually long-term clean energy reliability. As we navigate, however, we must keep the ship afloat by committing to Hull electric light players the best, most affordable sources of energy. We do not live in California with their mega multiple solar and wind sources. We live here in reality. Our Massachusetts reality is that there is a green growing energy movement. Hull Municipal Light Board, as noted earlier, has a 62% green portfolio, 50% mandated by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Our duty and obligation is to buy energy and to be able to have it reliable and as inexpensive as possible. A vote for me is a vote for proven, steady sailing. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Burns.
Thank you. And thanks to the League of Women Voters for hosting. I just want to say that as 16 years a light board member, I feel that there's been a proven dedication and to the mission of seeing that the ratepayer is number one, keeping the costs down and keeping reliability our focus. We have made non-carbon power our third priority in establishing a greener environment. And I hope that if elected, I can continue to show this passion and work for the town of Hull. So looking for your vote on May 16th.
Thank you. I want to thank the members, the candidates for the Municipal Light Board in Hull for joining us this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We
Thank
will
you for
now,
your time.
happy to be here.
Stay and listen to the rest of it.
We'll now move on to the board race for the Board of Selectmen. We have 4 candidates this evening for 2 races. So I'm going to wait till I see all of the.
Whoa, honey.
And those who are not speaking, if you can, just a reminder to mute, please. So I just want to make sure that Jennifer Constable, John Riley Jr., Stephen Greenberg, and Erwin Nessoff are all on camera at this point. And I believe we are. And if you are not speaking, if you could turn off your video, that would be great so that we can make sure that we can focus on the candidates. So thank you very much for joining us this evening. We appreciate you being here. And again, just a reminder, we will have 2-minute opening statements, 1 minute to answer the questions, and then 1 minute for your closing statement. So we will be starting. And just going to, before we start, just going to do a quick check to please make sure everybody has muted themselves who will not be speaking. Appreciate that. So for opening statements, this is the ballot order, and that means we will be starting with Ms. Constable. You have 2 minutes for your opening statement.
Thank you. Good afternoon, and thank you for this opportunity. I'm Jen Constable. I'm running for re-election to the Hull Select Board. It's been one of my greatest honors to serve the town of Hull over the past 6 years. When my husband and I chose to make Hull our permanent home 18 years ago, we immediately recognized that Hull is a community where family extends beyond bloodlines, where hard work is valued and opportunities abound. I'm a mother of 2 Hull High School students who proudly call themselves Hullonians. The decision to run for Hull Select Board was an easy one. With an extensive career in state and local government and a lifelong commitment to public service, it continues to be the right choice. I promise to continue to work tirelessly on economic development, including supporting our small businesses, expanding housing opportunities for all, and improving and increasing transportation opportunities. Over the past 6 years, resulting new growth has both increased revenues to the town and enhanced the quality of life. My advocacy in this area has contributed to approximately $500,000 in grant funds advancing this work, and includes a successful campaign to bring the Community Preservation Act to Hull. I promise to continue improving communication and community engagement, as it is essential to an equitable, resilient, and informed community. This work has included adoption of a board communication plan, resulting in an updated town website, social media presence, and routine reporting. Setting me apart from the field of candidates is not only numerous tangible accomplishments benefiting the community as a whole, but my well-established relationships with Hull's federal, state, regional partners, as well as local boards and committees. I hold a master's degree in public administration from Suffolk University and have over 2 decades of public service experience. Currently the assistant town administrator for the town of Rockland. I also am currently serving on the board of the Boston MPO, MBTA Advisory Board, chair the MBTA Advisory Board Ferry Committee, and serve on the MAPC Legislative Committee, MMA Fiscal Policy Committee, and South Shore Chamber of Commerce committees. Again, I thank the community for its continued support over the past 6 years and graciously ask for your vote on Monday, May 16th.
Thank you. Mr. Riley, you have 2 minutes for your opening statement.
Good evening. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for having this forum this evening. For those who don't know me, my name is John Riley. I'm running for re-election to the Select Board for the Town of Hull. I have served for the past 27 years as a select person. Over those years, I believe I've led in a professional and a thoughtful and balanced approach to the position. I came to office shortly after the implementation of Chapter 8, and I think I helped to set the standard for what a select person should be moving forward through the 90s and the turn of the century. Over the years, I've served over 20 people on the board. I served as chairman for 15 years. I'm also the Plymouth County Advisor liaison for the Town of Hull. I have also chaired the 375th Committee, which brought parades, fireworks, field days, flags, T-shirts, and other festivities to celebrate our 375th year of incorporation. I also served as chair of the Hull School Building Committee from its inception, starting the planning and building of the Memorial School right through the Jacob School. I believe that I have led with a balanced approach. I put people first. I try to protect the integrity of neighborhoods, and I am a lifelong resident. I was instilled at a very young age to appreciate the town that I live in. I'm always very grateful that my parents chose this town to settle. I hope to live here for the remaining years. I have grandchildren that also attend the Hull school system. So I'm invested for the rest of my life here. So on May 16th, I do respectfully ask for one of your votes and return me back to the Select Board. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Greenberg.
Thank you very much. First, let me thank the League of Women Voters and all the Hull residents who are online with us today. My name is Stephen Greenberg, and I'm a candidate for the Board of Selectmen. My family has had a home at 23 T Street since 1937. I've spent almost every summer of my life knowing that this is my happy place, and moved here full-time 12 years ago. You might remember me from the 375th parade, where I was very involved and got to serve the town as a proud and happy volunteer. I'm active in several organizations in Hull, including the Jews of Nantasket, a Facebook page which I started, the Hull Nantasket Chamber of Commerce, the Town Economic Development Committee, No Place for Hate, and other committees. Okay, my credentials include a master's degree in regional planning from Cornell University, which is where I discovered the idea of facilitating collaboration instead of competition as a means to success. My almost 50 years of civic involvement began in my hometown of Natick, where I still see many of my ideas being used. As both a professional and a volunteer, I have gained extensive community and business experience, having served in leadership management roles in retail, environmental, technology, and nonprofit sectors. In my position as the director of the Vilna Shul in Beacon Hill in Boston, I was instrumental in helping take this most forgotten building and making it into Boston's premier Jewish historical site. As a member of the Board of Selectmen, I will bring my leadership and management skills to support and benefit our community. I will seek to take advantage of our greatest assets, our residents, our proximity to Boston, our 400-year history, and of course, our beautiful location where the sea meets the sand. Increased revenue is what I'm looking for. And I believe that together we can make decisions, improve our brand, and rethink our present revenue model. It's the bottom reason why I'm running, because right now, our present system is taxing many of our long-term residents out of town. Please consider voting for me on May 16th. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Nessoff.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Erwin Nessoff. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for organizing this event and for all of you for tuning in. I fell in love with Hull 30 years ago when friends moved to Situate and my wife Paula and I began visiting them. I would ride my bike following the coastline and always end up at Pemberton Point. When I was offered a faculty position at Wheelock College, we both agreed Hull was where we wanted to live. Since moving here 15 years ago, I've become active in town, serving on the Council on Aging, and currently on the Planning Board, the Metropolitan Area Planning Council, the Housing Production Plan Committee, and the Hull Democratic Town Committee. As a member of the Hull Artists Board of Directors, I am leading the effort to turn the long vacant DCR police station on Nantasket Avenue into the Nantasket Center for the Arts. While I was executive director of a large New York City nonprofit, I was recruited for the position of the director of the Bureau of Community Services in the Department of the Aging, where I was responsible for overseeing over $400 million in aging services throughout the 5 boroughs. There are challenges facing Hull. They require creative thinking and new ways of acting. By the end of this decade, the majority of households will be over the age of 60. At the same time, our school population is shrinking. Young people who have grown up in Hull and planning to start families of their own can't afford to remain here. It is essential that we address these demographic changes by creating supportive services for older residents to remain in the community with independence and dignity while developing affordable housing for seniors and families. Overshadowing all of this is the impact of climate change. We must work together to protect our town from the ravages of stronger storms and rising seas while we reduce our carbon footprint. I know that one small town cannot significantly turn back the clock on climate change, but we can and we must lead by showing what is possible. As your representative on the Select Board, I will work collaboratively with all stakeholders to create a shared vision for our future.
Thank you.
I believe Hull can become a model of what is possible, not merely a reflection of what was. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now move on to our questions. And again, just a reminder, 1 minute for your answers. And we are starting the questions with Mr. Greenberg. The town charter states that the Board of Selectmen shall serve as the chief goal-setting and policy-making agency for the town. How do you understand the role of the Board of Selectmen?
I see it as exactly as you said. It's a policy-setting board. And I'm running for selectman because I believe that we can adjust our policy and become economically more successful and more prosperous. And that's what I'm planning on doing. The present board has made a lot of progress in a number of areas in defining the bid area of town for economic development, and I would like to continue pursuing that and perhaps accelerate the process. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Constable.
Thank you. I agree with Mr. Greenberg. I think the town charter is our important tool. It's one of our most important tools. The Board of Selectmen or Select Board is the chief elected official body in town and does in fact set policy. I think that the role of the board should also and does include ensuring that there's sufficient community engagement with the citizens, making sure that the decisions and the policies that are set are consistent with the views of the community and the wishes of the community. That's just critically important to make sure that there's community engagement, to make sure that the operations are running smoothly, but to make sure that the policies are consistent with community views and the existing operations.
Thank you. Mr. Riley.
Yeah, so absolutely, the select board is the policy setting board for the town of Hull as the chief executive board. I believe we've tried as best we could over many years to have public meetings and yearly reviews of policies that we have to put in place. And we also have strategic planning sessions that we try to establish where we're going to move in the future. The chapter 8 is basically has a series of checks and balances between the town manager, the select board, and the open town meeting form of government. If one isn't on track or one isn't involved, it's just not going to work. So it does, again, come down to communication and seeking input and then setting the policy to continue to move forward as we have done. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Nessoff.
Thank you for that question. Policy is my happy place. I was the founding chairperson of the Department of Policy and Leadership at Wheelock College. And with my experience in policy, Policy should never be made in a vacuum. It must be a transparent and open process. And as a member of the select board, that would be my role, is to bring in as much input as possible from the town to helping decide on, determine, and set policy. We need policies that will move us forward and will address the current issues that the town is facing. And that is so important, and that can only be done with input from the town through transparency and openness. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Constable, how would you prepare for each decision that the board must make? Or put another way, how do you know what is important to the citizens of Hull?
I think by being an active member in the community, engaging and participating comprehensively. I think it depends on what the issue is. There are many decisions that are put into place and policies that are explored that come from recommendations that are based upon community engagement. I'll just use one example, our open space and rec plan or the unified work plan. Those policy setting tools are all developed through public forums and public engagement, but really listening to the community, making sure that we have an informed community is also exceptionally important, so that we can take that input together with our knowledge and experience and develop appropriate policy.
Thank you. Mr. Riley.
Would you mind repeating the question?
Sure. How would you prepare for each decision that the board must make? Or put another way, how do you know what is important to the citizens of Hull?
As I previously stated, I'm a lifelong resident. I grew up listening to people of all ages sharing their thoughts about what Hull should be and what Hull can be and what Hull was in the past. So when I do make a decision, I base it on my experience, my knowledge, and the board will routinely set up study committees to report back to the board their findings, and we take the findings, and then the ultimate power, the ultimate authority or power a board member may have is one of discretion. They have to use their best knowledge and to the best of decision, make a decision that ultimately is best for all the residents of Hull, not just a certain segment. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Nessoff.
I think we achieve that through collaboration and input. We must create opportunities for people to participate, but just asking for participation is not enough. People need the information that they can participate with and have an input. As I talk to people in town, I find many people feel that they are not part of the decision-making process. As a select board member, I would reach out to people. I intend to have regular office hours so that I can hear from people directly what their concerns are. After all, I am only their representative. It is not my decision based on what I believe. In addition to open office hours, I would also put together a newsletter to reach out to people to keep them informed about what is going on in town, all based again on transparency and openness. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Greenberg.
Yes, I think the answer is listen, listen, and listen again. I'm very lucky that I know what I know, and I know what I don't know, and more importantly, I know who to talk to about how to learn what I don't know. And that's been the key to my success, and I would continue to do that as a selectman. I'd also convene more groups, for a bigger discussion. I think that Hull is in a point where it has to have a bigger discussion about its future. And so how we convene that is probably through an advisory board to the existing Economic Development Committee. And we come together in a strategic planning model over 6 months and put it on paper, and let's move forward as quickly as we can. We listen, and then we move.
Thank you. For our next question, we'll start with Mr. Riley. As you all know, the Board of Selectmen meetings are open to the public, broadcast on Hull Community TV, and the agendas and minutes are posted on the town website. What, if anything, would you do to keep Hull residents informed and engaged?
We covered pretty much all the bases where you say that it is listed. There are times I wish we had a bigger meeting room that we could fit more people into the room to be engaged firsthand. I think the only other avenue would be to more frequent update the town webpage. The board had talked about having a communication policy where one person on the board would be in charge of sharing board actions. And I do think we made great strides in the past year or two on trying to share that on our webpage and social media.
Thank you. Mr. Nessoff.
As I said previously, I would implement regular office hours so I could speak to people and people know that I'm available. I would also develop a newsletter to keep them informed of the actions of the town and the select board. It's never enough just to post it on a web page and expect people to find the information. We have to go out and bring the information to people. Not everybody knows how to find the information. Not everybody has the time to do that. I started my professional career as a community organizer, as a housing organizer, and my job then, and it still is to go out and reach out to people where they are. As representative, it would be my job to reach out to the people where they are, not wait for them to come find me.
Thank you. Mr. Greenberg.
I think you keep them engaged in interesting and informed discussion. I've noticed that many times there is little discussion at the board of selectmen's meetings. There seem to be positions that were discussed previously. I don't see open discussion, and so more open discussion about more important topics, I think will add to the engagement that people will have with the board. I think we have adequate ways of reaching out to people. The question is, if it's not interesting, why watch it? If it's not interesting, why participate with it? We have to keep it interesting. We have a lot of big decisions to make coming up in the near future. The HRA property is going to be coming online, and we need to engage everyone in how we move forward with a master plan for our future, our economic future.
Thank you. Ms. Constable.
Thank you. The board currently follows all open meeting laws, but we do go above and beyond by utilizing Hull TV, which has access 24/7 and as an on-demand service. So I think it's important to make sure that our residents are aware of that resource. We also utilize local news outlets with the Hull Times to ensure that we are duly getting information out to the community. We utilize and can, make sure that the community is aware that we're accessible through email or through the Board of Selectmen or Select Board's office. And making sure that information is posted in a timely manner so that the community can be informed and know the information that's out there in order to ask questions of the board.
Thank you. We'll now be moving on to your last question before closing statements, and we'll start with Mr. Nessoff. Would you please tell the voters what your top 3 priorities are for the town of Hull if you are elected for the select board?
Thank you. First, we have to develop programs for older adults and support services to help maintain them in town. As I said earlier, independence and dignity. We have to deal with the cost of housing for seniors. By the end of this decade, 60% of the households in town will be 60 years of age or older. We have to recognize that and provide services. The second is the fact that our schools are grossly underutilized. We're not attracting younger families to town. Housing has become unaffordable for them. We need to address the affordable housing in town so that we can attract more families and help repopulate our schools. And the third is the impacts of climate change. We have to develop climate resiliency plans. We are one of the most vulnerable towns in the entire Commonwealth as far as rising seas and stronger storms. We have to address climate resiliency as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Greenberg.
Yes, First of all, thank you again for letting me do this. This is very exciting, be part of democracy, play it out this way. The first thing I'd like to do is really take a look at the future needs of our community. The recent studies are very scary in terms of the number of people over the age of 60, and even more importantly, the number of people who are have emotional trauma from drug overdoses and the housing problem. So that'd be number one, to really look at that and look at future elder services. Number two is to talk about the HRA property and that coming online and what the proposals would do for that. And number three, but perhaps more overarching, because it's how we pay for all of this, is really an economic development plan that really helps us brand ourselves. The plans are at work. You know, I must say that the board has got wonderful plans going on with the BID and other programs, but we really need a master plan for what our brand is going forward. And I think we can do that together. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Constable.
Thank you. The first priority would be to continue the economic development work that's been happening over the course of the past 6 years, improving a relationship with a major property landowner in town, that being the Department of Conservation and Recreation. We've made tremendous strides, painstakingly so, but have made some significant progress over that same time period. Supporting our small businesses and commercial tax base as well. They're an important component to the community and our revenues. A lot of that is housing. That would be the second priority. And these are in no particular order, making sure that our housing is accessible, affordable, and diverse. And also responding to climate change, making sure that our residents are educated on the effects of climate change, understand the resources available to them, and enable that they have access to those resources.
Thank you. Mr. Riley.
I believe that the three top priorities would be two short-term ones. The first one would be school consolidation, whether the school committee should vote to consolidate, or if they don't vote to consolidate, there action will have to be taken in town, whether to move town offices into Memorial School, or if they vote not to, we have to find a better use for our town buildings, better use to maintain the buildings, a better use site for the senior center. The second item is not just about HRA coming online, it's the HRA for the first time since the 60s has to come to the Board of Selectmen and have their urban renewal plan approved. This is the first time in generations that the town will have a say into what will go on in that area. It could be anything from housing, senior housing, another hotel, it may be nothing. That's something where the town will have to have some input from the public, either by referendum or multiple public meetings to see what they want to do. And third is generational infrastructure repair. The town hall is 100 years old. Seawalls are over 100 years old. They have long outlasted their useful lives. So we have to make a list. If there is no consolidation, or if there isn't, we have to make a priority list of what has to be repaired to combat global warming, such as the seawalls, the different buildings.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We will now move on to your closing statements. And these will be done, as I said previously, in the reverse order of your opening statements. So we will start with Mr. Nessoff, and you have 1 minute for your closing statement.
First, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for this opportunity and thank everybody that has signed in to watch this. I appreciate that you've taken the time. I believe in town we have a lot of creative people, we have a lot of accomplished people, and we have to look for ways to involve that creativity and accomplishment in how do we move the town forward. As we look at the population changes, we can develop intergenerational programs, but more than anything, we have to move forward with openness and transparency so that people feel that they have input into the town, the way town works and the direction of this town, and that we can all come together to move town forward. So I thank you for joining us today, and I hope that you will consider me for a position on the select board on May 16th. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Greenberg.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. This has really been a really wonderful experience. We've been talking about all the things that could happen here. We talked about some of the studies we've done of the area. Now is the time for action. Now is the time for Hull to define itself going forward. Who are we? We know who we've been, who are we going to be? How are we going to take ourselves and move forward with the kind of challenges that we face, be it our population, our environment, and come up with a plan that's actionable in the short term. It's not just one that drifts along with the tides, but something that's really focused. I see it as economic development. We've already started it. We can piggyback onto that, and we can move Hull forward and make it a better place for all of us. We can make it better together. Thank you. Please vote for me.
Thank you. Mr. Riley.
Once again, thank you to the League of Women Voters for holding this forum. Most of all, I've been honored to serve my hometown for the past 27 years. It's been a privilege. I've enjoyed my whole time doing it. If people should vote for me for re-election, I'll continue to perform as I have. I will be thoughtful, balanced, and fair in my decisions. I'll do what's best for the town of Hull. I understand that we should look forward to the future, but enjoy what we have right now. We have a great town. Hull's been discovered. Many people move in the town, and there's a lot going on. We're a small town. We're a microcosm of the United States. We're a blending pot for many cultures and all walks of life that came here first to summer and then to settle. It's a wonderful town. We have a big future, and I hope to be part of it. Thank you very much. And I do obviously request one of your 2 votes on May 16th, Monday. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Ms. Constable.
Yes, I also want to thank the League of Women Voters as well as my fellow candidates for this opportunity. Again, I'm Jen Constable seeking re-election to the Hull Select Board. I look forward to continuing the very important work that's well underway and in action. It has been more than my honor to serve this community, which my family and I call home, and intend to do so for as long as we're here. I thank you again, and I ask also for one of your 2 votes on Monday, May 16th.
Thank you. Thank you to each of you for joining us this evening. And I would like to close out this forum this evening by thanking all the candidates for both contested and uncontested races for their participation in the democratic process. And also to the Hull, Hingham, and Cohasset members of the Hingham League of Women Voters for sponsoring this event. Please, everyone, remember to vote on Monday, May 16th. You can look at the town clerk's office for more information about voting hours. Please encourage your friends and neighbors to vote. If you will be out of town for the election, please contact the town clerk's office about obtaining an absentee ballot. If you know someone who can't drive to the polls, please offer them a ride. And your vote does matter. And I will just add a little story that this past January, I moderated a forum for the city of Framingham for one of their town council positions, because that race at the general election ended in a tie. So one vote would have changed that. So for your friends and neighbors who say, oh, my vote doesn't matter, your vote does matter. And remember, democracy is not a spectator sport. So thank you very much for joining us this evening. And again, this has been recorded and will be on the Hingham League of Women Voters website, as well as their YouTube channel. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful Sunday evening.